I will now open the Estacada City Council workshop. And today we're going to be talking about the public input for childcare zoning. And I think, Taylor, you're going to be taking us away on this. Is that right?
That's right. And I am just gonna get my screen shared here. Sorry. Having PowerPoint woes today. Okay. All right. Good evening, council. This is the City Council workshop for to discuss zoning changes for childcare. And I guess I'll be scrolling here. That's fine. Okay, so why are we here? The purpose of this workshop is to revisit the childcare zoning changes that we discussed last month at your joint workshop with the Planning Commission. The proposal, as it is in your packet, still includes the same changes that were summarized during that meeting. The actual text amendments have now been drafted, so that's also in your packet. And just to re-summarize, we won't go into too many details on that since it's still the same proposal, but just to re-summarize, this proposal would clarify the definitions of the different types of childcare facilities, and then it would also expand the areas where different types of childcare facilities are allowed in the city. So the two meeting objectives for this session are, number one, let you, the council, hear public feedback. And then number two, staff needs to know what changes you want to make to the proposal in order to get it prepared for adoption hearings. So you'll be giving us direction, hopefully. So brief order of operations for the workshop. Staff intro, we are here now. Before we open it up to the public testimony, I will give a brief summary of the survey input. There was a public survey that we put out. It is still open and it will remain open through mid-April, but we just wanted to give kind of like a brief preliminary update to y'all, just so that you know kind of what that feedback is looking like so far. So I'll do that. Then we will hand it over to public testimony. Any members of the public who want to speak on this topic, whether you're in Zoom or in the room, will have a chance to do that. Assuming we have multiple people who will want to speak, we are going to limit it to 3 minutes per speaker. And we're going to try to stick to our 7 p.m. council meeting start time. So if anyone doesn't get to speak during this early workshop that wants to, we would encourage those people to share their comments during the public comment part of the regular 7 p.m. city council meeting. All of the comments for this whole evening, all of the comments related to childcare will be saved in the record and included in the exhibits for this proposal whenever it comes to public hearing, excuse me. And I wanted to just see, can you raise your hand if you are planning to speak about the childcare stuff tonight? Anyone in the audience or on Zoom? Maybe, I see 2 maybes, okay. Okay, so we'll have plenty of time. We could probably let them go a little over 3 minutes if the council feels like it. What else? Okay, I said all of that. And then so the last part of this is the council discussion. You guys will talk about what are your concerns, what are your preferences related to the proposal, what are the changes that you all agree we should make to the proposal, and if there's any changes that maybe some of you want to see but others aren't so sure, we want to hear those too. Assuming the changes aren't too complicated, we can draft up those potential changes just to have them ready so that you can, continue discussing it at those later meetings and decide which ones you do or you don't want to adopt. So I think that's all I have to say before I describe the feedback we've received. So I think it was on the 10th that we opened up this public survey related to childcare. We directed survey respondents to, review the proposed changes. And we had those maps that we shared at the last meeting showing what the changes would look like, and asked some questions about their childcare needs and issues and perception of the need here too. And so as of March 17th, we had 23 responses. Almost all of them were Estacada residents. Almost all of them supported expanding childcare zoning allowances in the city. No one was opposed to that either. There was just only one person who was neutral or not sure. About 2/3 of respondents support locating larger providers in residential zones. Sorry, I know I'm zooming through this, but by the way, the graphics describing, showing these survey responses are included in the packet too. I've got a copy here if anyone wants to see that. About 2/3 of respondents support locating larger childcare providers in residential zones, and little asterisks there. Residential zones are where all of our schools and most of our churches are in residential zones. So just residential zone doesn't necessarily mean a strictly residential neighborhood. It is, it would include the places where our schools are also located. So a little asterisk there. And turned off. Oh, and now it's on. The light's red, so it's probably low on battery. I don't know. Almost all respondents also supported larger providers being located near schools, churches, parks, commercial areas, or transit lines. A few of them weren't sure, and no one was opposed to that. And then the survey also collected a bunch of information on what needs exist in the community. What types of childcare are needed? What are the needs that aren't being met? What are the costs that people are, experiencing with childcare? So all of those details, as well as written responses, there were some qualitative responses. All of that is included in your packet if you want to go into more depth. The survey will remain open through mid-April.
Will one of these reach over there?
So yeah, sorry. So if anyone has not taken the survey, and counselors included, that will be open until, I think we'll close it on the morning of April 17th. So please take it. And then that's actually all that I had to say, I believe. And I'm going to hand it over to public testimony now. Do we have a good battery? Yeah.
Testing.
Yeah, whoever it was on Zoom that was interested in speaking, if you could raise your hand again. Anne, are you there? Are you able to make Anne able to speak? I think it was, yeah, I think you're right that it was Anne.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, wonderful. I'm using my phone from a remote location, so I don't know how that will go, but we'll try. It is spring break. Yay. I was able to read through the comments and have spent some time interacting with our playgroup parents and others that clients that we serve with Todos Juntos and Estacada. And some of the comments, I think everybody that we have talked to is in support of childcare. And I've talked to some parents who would even be interested in providing care for other families and other children. And they really just want to know what's involved and how they can get that to happen. So we're really, with our early childhood committee in Estacada, are really trying to get that information out to families. And the county has been really helpful. Danny Stam Thomas has been really helpful getting that information to us and connecting with families who want to provide care. So I feel like that pipeline is working, but we're still in need of a larger center, especially with the influx of new residents that are going to need that. Do we have any plans or anything that's in the works as far as a new center being built in Estacada?
That's a good question. Do we have anything on the?
Nothing specific at this point, just trying to, the zoning changes that we're working on would allow that to happen a little easier. But there's nothing, I think there's interest, but nothing concrete. Thanks for sharing, Ann. Anything else?
No, that's it for now. We're working on it with you. And thank you for being open to input.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
All right, we have somebody in the audience that wish to speak. Anybody?
Hello, my name
Hello.
is Brittany Hill. I own Tiny Timbers Childcare and Preschool here in Estacada. I wasn't prepared to come up here to talk, but I do feel that it's very important to at least kind of give you a little background on what we are dealing with our program. Like Ann said, there's a lot of people in need of childcare. Specifically, I think infant and toddler care is severely lacking. Vicky Belcosa and I both own in-home daycares here in town, among a few other providers. And really, we're the only ones providing infant and toddler care. We are very limited on our ratios when you have children under 2. The zoning, I think I've been working with Taylor and Matt Lorenzen when he was here pretty closely and ran into a lot of zoning roadblocks. My husband and I actually own the business together, and over the course of the last few years, we've been really trying to get creative on how we can either puzzle piece different in-home daycares to fit the need. But again, like because of zoning, that hasn't really been possible. Also, logistically, it doesn't really make sense to do that. So I think that zoning is super important, and I think it's a great first step. Personally, my fear is that opening up the zoning allows places that are more established, like a KinderCare, to come out here. And obviously, like that would threaten, any of our businesses. So that's a big concern for us because finances are difficult, especially when, is this my light?
1 minute.
Okay. Especially when, we put our heart and soul into this community and, we do everything we can for the families that we provide care for. So that seems a little bit scary, I think, on our end. So again, kind of like what Ann was saying, like knowing a big picture plan would be nice. Does the city have plans to, build out commercial buildings for other businesses, not just childcare, to have their businesses lease from them? I don't know if that's even in the cards or if that's in the plans, but for like us, it's just our income. We're applying for grants. So it's not really realistic for, us, a small business, husband and wife owned, to take out a $1.2 million loan to build a center. So just trying to like figure out all of the next steps.
Okay, you mind if I have a question for you? Joel, go ahead.
Just a quick question. You said you ran into some zoning issues. What zone are you in? And could you give me an example of some of the issues? you ran into?
Yeah, so a couple places we've looked into before, and currently still kind of trying to look into is the ranger station here. I am friends with the business owner at Crescendo, and she too is looking for a space to move her business. So we're like, can we collaborate? Can we, create some sort of like community center out of this building where it's like, I provide childcare on this end of the building, and then, over here you've got dance classes. I know another, I don't know if you're familiar with Terrell Martin, but he's kind of running the sports camps and stuff for the community. And, he's looking for a place like, how can we really like cater something to our kids, whether that be a jump zone, whether that be, sporting, like batting cages, things like that. So we've looked at that building. My husband called again today to see if we could get an update on where his name is Terry Emmert, where he was at on that building. He said he's had a lot of inquiries, but he doesn't really seem too interested in like quickly filling that. We've looked at the house on, most recently, we looked at the house on the corner of Eagle Creek and for some reason I want to say Wallens. Do you remember, Taylor? Was it's like right off River Mill. It's a corner lot. Hinman. Yes, thank you. That was not zoned, nor was it in city limits. And that had like some annexing, like we would have had to annex it into the city in order to get it zoned for what we needed it for. We've looked at the property that's across from Granny's. That's for sale for 5.5 now. When we first looked at it, it was like 875,000. But again, like you're talking about us taking out a home loan, like an additional home loan to buy the property to then get that zoned. So that that's zoned residential right now. We've looked at, have a long list. It's all typed up on my
I think I
computer.
got an idea roughly. It's-
Yeah,
So some of the areas not you're currently in now, but what you might want to move to expand out.
correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Any other questions? Sheridan?
Would you be willing to just, if you have that all on your computer, would you be willing to email that out to the council so we could just have a nice little list and
Yeah,
see
it
what
does
sort of
also-
issues you're having?
Yeah, it does also have on there, it's more of like these are the dead ends I've run into over the last few years. We did partner and try to partner with some of the churches. So it's kind of, it has a little bit more than maybe what you're asking, but
Yeah.
that's kind of where we left
Yeah,
off
no,
at.
if you could send that, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Mike?
How many kids are you currently serving and how many kids are you hoping to serve by getting into a new facility?
So right now we have across our 3 locations, we have an in-home. We have, we lease a portable unit classroom from River Mill, and we lease the classroom from CRE. Both of those contracts we just got in the beginning of the school year. We have 85 kids across the 3 locations. I'm actually working on trying to get my house closed down because I would really like to have my house back. And we have a wait list that is probably about 12 families long on each site, with 1 to 2 children each. And then at the beginning of the year, I actually had to just close my wait list because it was too much. And we only have like 1 opening every fall. So the kids that are moving up, we don't really have room for them in our school age program. I just met with Mike Ware and Jen Berman last week to discuss an increase in capacity for our school age program, which would require us to lease more space from the school. And so we're kind of working on that to support the need of our school age kids. But yeah, so right now it's 85. I think, by being able to have a center, what I would like to do would be to have a space that's really for the 0 to 5, and then keep the school agers at the school in those programs. Just because the classroom space at CRE is so great and we have gym access there. And something like that would require, if we had a building 0 to 5, I think we'd be able to serve just 85 kids in that building with about 5,000 square feet.
Thank you for all you're doing with the kids. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's obvious there's a need if you've got that kind of wait list in every
Yeah.
one of those locations.
And I know there's a lot more, families coming out here. So my anxiety is already like way up here.
Well, we appreciate our children are very important. So that's a
Yeah.
very big step and we commend you in what you do.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Are there any other comments, or should we have Taylor go ahead and lead the council's discussion about this?
Any other comments in the audience? Okay, come on. Step up.
Thank you.
My name is Vicky Bellacosa. And unfortunately, I'm now one of the old dogs that have been doing daycare for 30 years. Going over the document that Taylor, that you had put together, a couple questions that, not really even questions, just things I wanted to point out that just from, I think, being part of the community for so long, I guess maybe cautionary, kind of touching on what Brittany said. Two of them. One, I didn't notice, and maybe it was there and I just didn't see it. When I too have been looking literally at every single piece of property that Brittany had talked about, and some of the properties we looked at together, that a lot of the things that we both came up with was the city code. Don't ask me to find, I don't know which one it is, but that they want the retail space also. And that really does need to be taken away. You, or any of you that have kids or grandkids or whatever, you don't want to be going to pick up your child or a grandchild or whatever it may be, and there's a whatever shop next door. It could be a retail shop, for, used prom dresses or something like that. It doesn't even matter what it is, but you just don't, the daycare portion of it does not need that foot traffic next door. In today's society, it's just not a good idea. I don't know, that would be a question for Danny, Stam, Thomas, maybe. I don't know how certification would go with that also. So that's one thing that could be, should definitely be looked at. Another one is that as far as the way that the zoning and everything is being changed, which is a very positive step in the right direction, I would caution that we do it in our community. And this is definitely the small town person mentality that I am very proud to have, that we don't want it to be done in a way that the corporate daycares see as, oh, we want, we can go in and make some big money there, because they could. But we also know that the type of the community here, and a lot of families aren't going to be able to afford that. A lot of families, when the school district had, the name of it just left me. Sorry. But before Brittany was there, and they had a program, and a lot of families struggled with the cost of that. And I just feel that something, I hate to keep saying KinderCare, but that's the only one I can really think of, that you don't want the corporate daycares coming in. But yet at the same time, we need that. And because we need a center that can easily accommodate 100+ children. That is not unrealistic for what our town needs. Dare I say 150 especially with all those extra houses that are coming in still. 200 children is not an unrealistic expectation. And I mean, Clackamas County alone has a childcare desert of what, 5,000 children that need daycare in Clackamas County alone. I know I'm going over, I apologize. As far as what Ann Johnson was saying, if anybody out there is trying to get their daycare registration, I will do whatever I can to help them. And because our community needs it. We need to put ourselves in a position that we are not relying on our schools to do this. We all know the problems that the school is having. They don't have room. Because look at how fast we went halfway through the school year and Brittany blew through the room she was allotted in a heartbeat. And I have no doubt that if the school district said, Brittany, what do you need? She could easily fill up 4 classrooms without even blinking an eye. And yes, the turnover rate is pretty much nil. I too don't really keep, I mean, I have my wait list. I don't like to look at it because it's incredibly sad. It is longer than this page. And
Thank you.
I
Vicky.
tell my families,
Yeah, we thank you, Vicky.
it'll be
I
probably a
appreciate
year.
it.
So,
Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Jay.
Vicky, I just had a question. The zone or the code, the city code that you're talking about, was that, could that have been in the downtown district? Is that, because I think that's the only place where we require retail space on the ground floor. Is in the downtown.
I'm not positive. I just
Okay.
know that when we were looking at the forestry building, it came up there. And then when we looked at the spot across from Granny's, one of the hesitations in that was, where's the retail space gonna go? I feel like there was a third one and I can't think of it off the top of my head. So maybe you're right, it is just in the city limits.
At
downtown.
the downtown core is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I think that's the only place we really have that stipulation that there has to be retail or commercial on the ground floor.
So, yeah, I would just say that, I mean, if you wanted to go pick up your kids, would you want it?
Yeah, I
No,
completely
yeah.
understand that.
It definitely takes
Thank you,
away of
Vicky.
that.
All right, thank you.
Wait,
And
Taylor, do you want to go ahead and grab some comments from the council on if you have had a chance to look at the recommended code or not proposed? I guess it's the initial proposed draft of the code and things that you want to shout out to Taylor that you take a look at. And I know we're running out of time here, so we'll try to do this in just the next few minutes, but.
What do y'all
Sure.
got?
I have a question. Did we ever hear back from the school district? I think Superintendent Carpenter was he was supposed to get back to us with some numbers and maybe collect some data when we
don't-
had that joint meeting. Didn't hear from him then.
No,
Okay, okay.
sorry.
Just wondering.
okay.
We haven't had another planning commission meeting since then, so that might be why, but
Okay.
we haven't reached out to them either. We could make a note to do that, sorry.
Just a quick question. On the R1 here in the, under uses permitted outright, you have large childcare and youth services. But I believe the discussion said that those are supposed to be conditional use. And I think it even shows it up there too, but they're under the outright here. So is that the mistake or do we need to
In
move
the-
that or what?
Are you looking at the draft amendments?
Yeah, the one under 16.16 low density residential R1 uses permitted outright is it says large child care facility, and then the next line down says youth services. So,
Under outright permitted uses?
yeah,
That would be a mistake. Yeah,
they're,
those are,
I think
it's
it's
also under
because
the
it's-
conditional as
It's
well.
just saying it's when they meet the condition of being within 200 feet of a school, church, or transit line.
Okay, it's because the one in conditional use basically says the same thing, I think. Oh,
I
not
read,
within,
I read
okay,
that
yeah,
a few
not
times
within,
too.
okay. So you're saying that if it's within 200 feet of a school, it's permitted outright, not conditional use?
That is, yeah, that is what we, I think this, well, I think this is still a question in my mind, because it seemed like some counselors were interested in not allowing large facilities anywhere in the low density zone. Some were maybe interested in only allowing it as a conditional use if it's within the 200 feet of those things. And then others were interested in allowing it anywhere in R1 as a conditional use, and outright within that buffer. So that's
Well-
one of the questions I have for you all.
And that was what I was gonna bring up as well too. I thought it was captured pretty well in the notes from the last time that we had that hesitation of opening it up to the R1 zone, large facilities. But from our discussion, we were good with conditional use because that would at least allow it in there. And then I saw also in the R3, we have just permitted outright large childcare facilities and youth service facilities as well too. Is that?
Yeah, in that's the multifamily, you could call it
Okay.
high density residential.
Yeah, I saw it in there a few times. So I know definitely R1, we had the within 200 feet. I got that. And then in the R3, we've got that. I didn't have the other ones marked in here. But I think it's a good question for the council then is from the large facility standpoint, are we wanting it outright or are we wanting it conditional?
Conditional. Any questions over here? No, Joe, but
My thought with that would just be to remove the distance and just leave it as conditional, because then it could be up to the council per issue if there's, if it's with 200 feet, but it's impeding on some sort of commercial issue or something like that, we can make a decision versus trying to juggle if it's 200 feet or not 200 feet, and it kind of gets complicated.
And it would
That's-
be,
I would leave it as simple.
it would be up to the planning commission as a
Yeah.
conditional use, but yeah. it would
Either
be-
way, it gives, it takes the complexity out of that and leaves it up to them on that area.
Okay.
So.
So would you want to allow it outright at a school or church? So I think that one of the points that was made last time is that when people move next to a school, there's certain expectations and one of them is school children. So for someone like these operators, if they want to locate at the school, then allowing them to do that as an outright use means that they don't have to put in a conditional use application and go in front of the planning commission because they're offering the services after school.
Yeah.
So you could do that for a school. I don't know whether you want to do that for a church or not, but that might be one carve out, at least for the school, because that's the most likely way they'd be able to locate a large facility. And then if you want it outside of school grounds, it could be a conditional use. Is that kind of what I'm seeing some nods?
yeah, no, I
Right.
think that's exactly what we're
Okay.
trying to get to. I think that makes sense.
Schools and churches for me, I think it
Mhm.
would make sense for both of those.
Okay.
Okay, Joel?
Did we also get a chance to look further into some sort of like for a business license waiver fee for like a moratorium on that for a short period? We look any further into that one?
What was no, we didn't. Was there? I don't know if that's something we were gonna research or if we can, I think we could just decide to do that if
Yeah. we
they
don't
wanted
have
to.
to.
Proposal.
Yeah, we could just decide to do that.
We currently do that for nonprofit businesses. The fees waived for nonprofits, so probably half the providers would end up qualifying for that anyway, but
I think we talked about doing it. We didn't quite have a sunset date in there, but that's what, we want some sort of sunset date on that. I think we said until things settle down. But how do we define that? So, and what did we discuss? Maybe a 2 or 3
It
year?
was a
Yeah.
2 year, and then
Yeah.
we can
2 year.
review it if we need to extend it.
and that would be captured in the would that even go in the code? Would that go in like the business
We go on the
license?
fee schedule,
chapter?
We just go on the fee schedule.
Do we need to like make a vote on that during an actual council meeting to make it official, or can you guys just do it?
That's a good question, but we'll have to look into the process for that. Actually, we're going to be bringing up the whole fees. Is this on? I think it is. The fee schedule back to the council shortly, so we could include it in that. That way it would be approved. at that point.
And you pretty much got direction of which way we're going with this. Do you feel like you're comfortable in that?
I think
Yeah, are there any other, aside from the conditional use question that we just talked through with the larger facilities, are there any other parts of the proposal that people feel unsure about, or does everything else feel pretty comfortable?
I think from a feel good about, you've clarified the definitions. That was one of the big things that we were
Mhm.
looking for, and, kind of taking out some of the gray areas in there. So appreciate that.
Well, it doesn't pertain to that. It more pertains to, I really like the idea of utilizing the old ranger station. I know it's a little further out than we would like for, childcare, but I think it would be a great facility, for what they're talking about. I just wondered if there's a way, if there's, serious thought going into that as a facility, if the city could help maybe facilitate a serious conversation with Terry Emmert. I mean, I know there's probably nothing we can do to help like the sale of the property, but if we could just maybe help facilitate a serious conversation if they want to, go that direction, with Terry Emmert on that, because I think it's a great idea, and it would be, taking something that's not being used and making it useful.
there's probably a realtor involved, I would guess. I'm not sure about that, but we could look in and assist if there needs to be a connection made or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. You did a great job.
Thank you.
I think we've come to some kind of consensus as to
Yeah.
what we're doing.
So this will go to
So
the
we'll work
planning
on,
commission. You have to go through the public hearing process, right?
yep, yeah, so we'll package up these, minor, thank you, really minor
Yeah.
changes to what we've got. Put it all together, get the staff report ready. It'll go first to the planning commission, so unless there's unforeseen delays, it'll be their next meeting on April 27th. And then it will come to you all, back to you all on May 8th. And we'll keep you updated, we'll let you know when the planning commission packet goes out to them so that you can get an early look at that, just in case. And as always, like if any other thoughts or concerns come up in the meantime, please let us know so that we can bring you whatever information or changes are desired.
Great. So
Thanks.
thank the planning team and thank city staff for putting this together. And I will adjourn the workshop and we will start the